Wow. Okay. I have to. Okay, Brian, go ahead, man. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Jeff. Another excellent presentation as all. There's a few things I could start with. You said, the Gray said we have friends all over the galaxy and human genes are valuable. So this, I'm trying to formulate my worldview of the big picture. If they're all over the galaxy, the genes are valuable. I get the impression that human genes are valuable to bring life to other planets because the project managers work with many planets. But at this particular planet, you know, it's time for planet Earth to have an upgrade. We're going to have the new human in centuries to come, but the genes are still valuable. So is that your impression that like planet Earth is going through an upgrade, but they still want our genes are valuable perhaps for their programs elsewhere in other places?
Yeah, you know what? The only thing I can go off is intuition based on this. I don't have any more information than you're actually just relaying. But the impression is that the new human isn't going to be, it's going to have those favored parts. So it's still going to have those pieces of that they would consider to be desirable. As far as I'm aware, the new human, the one that is talked about in the book, is still going to contain those aspects. And does that answer your question? Is that what you mean?
Well, also, well, yeah, that's part of it, but also how does this relate to other planets? Like I remember you once said to Christina in Ohio when she had this relationship with the mantid, you said, well, maybe they need her emotions for other planets. I thought, wow, what an insight. So they have a very big view of many planets. So, so my question is, do they need human genes to help seed other planets to get them going?
Well, they do say that to me. Yeah, they say that, and that's in the 21st contact event where I ask, why did you need semen? And then they said for protoplasm for seeding other star systems. So they're very aware that, yeah, it's like gardens. And you know, that's what Lou Elizondo, I think it says, where it's kind of like we might have to think of this as a garden. Like there's like, and this is what I think it is. I think it's gardening for them. I think it's nature and it's gardening, and they seed other systems, and there's something with what the human is. It's like it's desirable. It might be, or for all I know, it merges well with other types of genetics or something, right? Like it could be a good base stock or something, or maybe it is just the fact is that the human alone is just it works well in these other ways in these other star systems. I'm not really clear, but they definitely are doing that. Yeah, they are taking those genetics and they're using them for other places. At least that's what they tell me, right? So okay,
and not to hog all the time, but the beginning of presentation is very good, like with the military and government sources. Like wow. Like I hadn't studied it. That's very helpful, especially for a newbie audience. They also mentioned about grabbing your genes. Do you want to prevent others from grabbing your genes? Yeah. Make me think, well, maybe there's hostile negative aliens or others who want to grab the genes. Might explain some other, do you think they might explain some other abduction scenarios or reptilians or people having traumatic experiences? Like that's very meaningful, right? If they're trying to protect you from grabbing your genes. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, no, and I have the two with the humanoids, and that one with the man in black is distinct because and remember he shows up at my house. My sister-in-law has an interaction with someone, which is very weird, and then it turns out I have a contact event with the man in black in the same location. So there is a premise here going on that he wanted something from me. It turned out to be genetics. So it's almost like he was kind of trying to intervene himself. I don't really know if that was a man in black, right? But there's something else going on. And then when the memories all come out, there was an exchange going on. And it was like he found out or something, right? That's almost like what it was. The men in black found out and they were looking for me. And then now the Greys had to arrange it. They want to control it all and be arranging it. Then they were allowing this exchange to occur. I do think it's probably something like that. I've kind of always said this, that like, there's a really interesting point here that it's not just the Greys who are well known for taking semen or having biological contact events. And when you start thinking about the human genetics in general, it might speak and what the beings kind of frame, how they frame things here, that there is a value to the human genetics, especially importantly, especially at this time, kind of there's something to go with going on dimensionally. And so there is something really attractive for other species. And there are other species on record having biological interactions with humans. There's Pleiadians or humanoid species also have been known to have biological interactions with humans. So this isn't just a gray alien thing. There's something else that other species desire and like about the human genetics. And so I do think that. I think when we hear about other species taking alien genetics, I think it might be a larger picture about the human in general in this relationship. And yeah, and it's just very fascinating because what you're hearing is how they think about it amongst each other, right? That's what's really fascinating. They think, hey, those ones are ours. You can't touch those guys or something, right? So yeah, it's very fascinating. Yeah.
Okay, I'll let others ask questions. Thank you kindly, Jeff. So
Yeah.
insightful. Appreciate it.
Awesome, Brian. Thank you. Ian. Ian, you have your hand up?
Jeff, yeah, sorry.
Ian, it's you, Ian Helling. How you doing, man?
Hi, yeah, not too bad, thank you. Yeah, Jeff, that was brilliant. Thank you. Another great presentation. Such a tour de force of your experiences there, and really, really good how you brought everything together. And your presentations just get more and more polished and more professional as you go. I liked, as Brian commented, you started off with the sources, the things that are happening now, those military sources, and it just shows that things are falling into place, and we've got a lot of corroboration for what's going on.
Yeah.
Very interesting too that you mentioned about the terminology that they use. That again is corroboration for me for many things. Using the words abduction and then being known as go with your handler. They just come straight out with it, and there's no messing, and it's just that's how it is. And again, how you work with their feelings as well. That it's sort of like you convey the feelings so well that it's that's how it is. That they've run the show. They've got their plan and everything's in place.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with all of that. There's so much to unpack in that last presentation, and again, it's so good that we've got these presentations to run alongside your book, because with your book as well, there's a lot of illustrations that you use here that aren't in the book, but there's so much of extra interest. I think these presentations of yours bookend the book in itself. So well done for that.
Awesome.
I'm not taking too much of an active part today because I've got an actual sinus infection, and it's quite painful. And but I've enjoyed tonight's presentation, and I've enjoyed this, and looking forward to hopefully there'll be another one, Jeff, and we'll keep it going.
You got it. Good to see you, man. Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
I'll
here.
stand back and let some other people ask some questions. I don't have any specific questions at this point, but I would like to say, if you haven't got Jeff's book already and you're watching, get Jeff's book, watch his other presentations, and get part of the bigger picture. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ian. Thanks, buddy. Thanks so much. Always appreciate your insight. Yeah. That abductions part. That is that. Yeah, you got it. You nailed it. That's really fascinating, man. Yeah, I love it. Anyway, thanks, Ian. I appreciate it, man. Always. Troy. Hey, Troy, how you doing? You're muted. Can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hey, Troy, how you doing?
Very well. Good to speak with you, Jeff, and it's really great to be on here and meet everyone and hear more of your story.
Yeah, welcome to Vancouver UFO.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce myself as one of the organizers of the Seattle UFO Network. And I just have a comment on the alien genetics thing. Some years ago, I read Tom Kenyon's book, The Arcturian Anthology. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's quite fascinating. A lot of channeled information from Arcturians, and from the Arcturian perspective, they say that humans are actually intergalactic royalty. That's how they regard us, because humans have trace amounts or minute amounts of almost all of the intelligent and highly evolved beings in the universe. All of the grays and mantids and humanoids and reptilians and probably some plant beings and amphibians and other types of beings have contributed to our evolution at some point, and we have their genetics. So there's that perspective. I think about that sometimes, and I've had a lot of my own experiences with many different beings. But one question I have is about the transporters on the ship, and I want to ask specifically, kind of explicitly, about what those are like and how would you describe them?
Yeah, sure. So I think I mentioned in the book that I experienced the same type of transporter. And every time I step on it, it's white and soft. So, and they're white, bright white and soft. And I don't experience anything else. I don't have a sense of the light or anything like that. I get, though, I clearly have an experience with the intelligence of the ship because I can feel the movement. And I even as I reflect in the book, I call it zoomed up. And it's not that I when I'm being transported up, I'm not feeling a G-force. I can feel the intelligence of the ship picking me up. And so you get, I don't know how to say it, but it's like an intimate experience with the intelligence of the ship. Those, when you get transported, any kind of moment I get transported, you have this like very quick moment with the ship. And so I know I'm being zoomed up, not from G-force, but from this kind of intelligence. And that happens every time. That's why I said in this presentation, when I'm in the transporter and I can feel I'm going upwards. And it's just like, well, how do I know that? And I know that because there's some kind of intelligence going on. There's something overarching. And when you kind of feel it, you can feel your experience going through it. So that's the best. And I have a couple interesting moments in the book, interesting contact events, number 5, where I'm underneath the craft and I'm really, really high up above Bunsen Lake. And then they fire me down and I can feel the intelligence of the ship. And so I'm not, another point too that I always make is in most cases, I don't believe I dematerialize per se until I'm close to the ship, but I don't really know that. And it might change or vary at certain times, but there's been certain distinct moments where I'm not dematerialized, I guess you could say, and I'm kind of a full body moving through this transporter that is carrying me. It's like a force or an energy. It's an intelligence, and that's how I kind of describe it. So it probably varies a little bit, but that's the overall arching experience, is this kind of a close experience with the intelligence, whatever ship or base I'm dealing with at the time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's fascinating. I've been on some ships that I have specific memories of. It was actually many years ago, and growing up, I was on these ships. I call it the sphere ship because from the outside, it looks like a giant sphere, a giant multi-leveled sphere. They use black triangles to get to it. But what I recall is elevators, similar, sort of like elevator tubes. I think they're the same as what Susie Hansen and others describe as elevator tubes with blue-green gaseous stuff running through them.
Right on the walls or something, right?
Gas.
Yeah, I remember her saying
Yeah,
that.
they're like
That's right,
attached to the wall, but
Yeah.
they're a tube big enough to fit a person inside of.
Right,
Certainly a smaller gray type person.
right.
And
right.
that's what I remember as one specific thing. I have a sketch of it, but it's not right by me now. But also a whiteboard, what I call the whiteboard. And it's not like a square or rectangular whiteboard, but it's like a thing that stands up. It has 7 hexagonal panels on it, look like a honeycomb. And I remember interacting with it. It's like a ceramic crystalline technology object that they allowed me to use to actually telepathically connect with the hologram surface on it with the other, I guess you could call them objects. I think they're really all white pyramids that they had brought with them at the time. This was in 2018 that I interacted with that whiteboard. But yeah, you can telepathically interface with these living pyramid objects that they have underground in different parts of the earth now. And so that was one piece of technology that I recall specifically, and the command center in their ship. I have some memory of the examination room too, but I think it's different than yours. The descriptions sound different, but again, the ship itself does feel alive. All of their technology is alive. So
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome, Troy. Troy, I'd love to hear more. Do you have any of your? I know you. So you run your group. Do you have your stuff online somewhere, or?
I do have a YouTube channel. I made a 7-episode series chronicling these main contact events from like 2018 to 2019, almost 2020, and even before that, some childhood contact events. It's called Cosmic Coexistence on YouTube. My channel is just Troy Bacon, and yeah, that's the main thing I have up there. I haven't posted videos in a while, but that's my story up there now.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, be happy to hear more another time, definitely. So was that it? Was that everything, Troy? Was
That's all the questions I have right now. We can definitely connect more later.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll be in touch, Jeff.
Sounds great, Troy. Totally, man. Love it. Angela, I saw it. Angela, and then you also had a comment, Angela. Angela, do you want to speak?
Yeah, sure. I just was curious. I did have an event when I was picked up from my backyard. I saw the lights coming and I thought, oh, there they are. And then I heard above and behind me, that's not us, run. And so I did. And as I'm watching myself run through the backyard, I realized I wasn't in my body anymore. As my body was running to hide, I was already on my ship. So my consciousness was split. Has that ever happened? Have you ever seen yourself and been already on ship or something?
So, sorry, just very quickly. So where was your body? Did your body fall down on the ground and you went into the ship?
No, I was just standing there watching the lights come, thinking, there they are, you know? And then I heard the voice say, that's not us, run. And as I bolted, you know, and I ran around into the park behind my house, I ran away from my house because my children are here. So, but at the same time, I realized I was watching myself run from above on the ship already. And my consciousness was going back and forth between the two positions. And this has happened before when I was in the medical situation and being worked on. I was in and out of the body watching and experiencing back and forth. So it's kind of like that.
So yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I've been transported lots of different ways. I've been able to study the mechanics of how I moved.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of details there. But that was really unusual one, because the only time that ever happened before, when you're having an extremely traumatic situation or painful situation, it's very common to go out of your body.
Yeah.
But this was not. Maybe it was the panic of that's not us, run. Maybe that's what did it. I don't know.
So what's fascinating to me is that you're having an experience of seeing yourself, of being yourself running, and then you're seeing you looking down at yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I dove under the bushes to hide, I had that perspective of being on the ground then.
Right. Have you?
But then I was aware I was already on the ship, so I'm like, what is happening?
Have you ever heard of Susie Hansen's book, The Dual Soul Connection?
I might have heard of it, but I haven't read it.
That's what that sounds like. That sounds like you could have a dual soul, which is like we were just me and Starshine. We were just talking about that previously, like before everyone jumped on. You know, there's this whole like psychology that goes on, but there seems to be versions of everything, right? There's all nature for them. So there's like versions of stuff. And it sounds very much like you may have an actual alien identity. Like you actually may have a part of you that is connected to you, but is on the craft. And mine calls herself, well, it's identifiable as being a dual soul, and I can see what she sees, but I don't have that experience of kind of the self moving from one to the other. But Susie did, though. Susie has an experience of she could turn herself, she's been an alien on board a craft. So that's kind of what that sounds like. And so there might be versions of this kind of stuff. I would explore that. I would explore the dual soul connection, and her book, she does a really good job at kind of trying to explain the life of a dual soul, and the aliens definitely think this way. They definitely think about consciousness in these ways. So I think that's very fascinating. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I do agree that not all of what I am is here. I know that. And I did have a situation where I took orders from my highest self through myself. And I know that when I said the words, it was me talking through me from somewhere else.
Right.
And that was really unusual. And it was, I have found my position. I have found my locale. I am in position. It is coming.
Right. Right.
And that came through me, and I knew it was me, but it was like I was speaking through myself from way up above somewhere.
Right.
And when you channel something, you think it's something else. I knew for a fact this was me.
Right. Right.
Speaking through me. It was bizarre. So I'll have to check that out. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, I also, like, when you talk about the higher self, this is where my experience came into, because I was dealing with, and it's because the beings are on that level. So they're talking to your higher self, and so this idea that, because that's the other part that I experience on with all my story, is I'm dealing with my higher self, and I am getting communication from it, and it is the me, it's the larger me, but it's not the me, but it's a higher me, it's another part of me, if you will. And the beings were all intertwined with me, and I don't have the kind of dual soul connection experience like Susie would, but I have this higher self stuff going on. And this is, so you have to kind of discern this stuff for yourself, really. In the end, there's no one who helps with this kind of stuff, but but I would encourage you exploring kind of these books and stuff to understand for yourself what you think is going on.
Yeah, I definitely will. There'll probably be a lot of similar things in her story, isn't there? So I'll check it out. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. Thank you. There.
Hey,
man.
My question
is,
this goes along with what you two were just talking about. Do you say, and another part of you will know the other you? Remember how you used to say the other me?
Yes, the me.
Where you were in contact with another part of you? This is my question. Yeah. Do you feel you're getting any more close to that other you, so that you no longer have to switch almost personality or switch gears to that other you? Are you getting closer as you learn more and are more comfortable with you, Jeff Selver, who you are? Are you getting closer to feeling that other you is you? Because it used to be a quick turnaround.
Yeah. Are you talking about the me that knows them on the craft? Is that?
Well, remember when the craft come and they contact you, and all of a sudden you switch over to the other me?
Yeah. Yeah.
The me that knows them.
The me that knows them. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you getting closer to?
Yeah, right. Well, I guess I had to. Yes, I guess that's what the book is. That's what the presentation is. That's what I figure. Yeah, and actually, the point, I guess, is in the presentation I mentioned, I was meditating on the me that knows them, and then had a dream about the alien genetics. So yeah, I think what's happened is an integration. I do believe that, actually. The more I see what you're getting at, and yes, I think an integration has happened. I can't actually fully know until I see them again, and they actually fully put me into that state again. Yeah, but yeah. I actually, I do know I've been drawing it out. That is what's been going on, is I've been drawing it out. I mean, I did that mainly for the story, so I could understand exactly how I was thinking and what I was thinking about. And so I did kind of tear apart that other me, and in the process did integrate it. Yes. Yeah. So,
I figured you did. You used to seem to be such a sort of a shock to your system. All of a sudden you were somebody else.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
but that's how you understood it, because you had similar experiences in that particular mindset.
Yeah.
But now that you're integrating things through regressive therapy and all that kind of thing,
Yeah.
maybe that's all coming together better. Boy, that's a tough thing, though, what you're going through, but it's nice to see you handle it. And I'm glad it's you and not me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, as I said, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
and especially like, you know, there's 22 people here. You're practically the only people who can understand it, if you all understand it. Because the people in your personal environment who aren't into aliens, they don't understand it.
Yeah, that's
So
tough.
it gets really wacky. And but you know, it's also got, there's all this meaning behind it too, right? Like, okay, they wanted me to write a book, so then I kind of get to, I put my energy there, and some of this stuff is, when you start realizing it cooperates with military men, you're like, oh, I clearly got privy to some very important planetary information. Why would they do that to me? And then I realize, oh, the government isn't listening to them or something. There's something going on in these other levels that they're not, so the beings have to do this. They're doing this to humans. And anyway, yeah, so it's interesting, fascinating, pain in the ass, and all at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thanks. I appreciate the deeper questions. Yeah.
The closer you get to that understanding and that consciousness must be quite satisfying with all that you've gone through. But you can also see where they're coming from when they say you couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And where the government says, you know, we couldn't handle it. It's just amazing technology, not technology. It's just an amazing other consciousness.
Yeah.
Took you, I mean, you're not a young guy anymore. Took you many years to understand, and what you've gone through is a good example of what it takes to understand it.
Yeah.
So for us to just step in, myself or anybody else, cold water or cold fitted, it's not wise. You have to approach it so that you understand it. And unless they are helping you, directly helping you understand, I'm sure it's a very difficult thing for anybody to do.
Right. Right.
I'm quite now.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate all that. And you've been very observant actually throughout these presentations about this kind of the reality that there was two me's going on. And the book really is a relationship about two me's and how that all kind of played out. And it's very observant, because it really was the psychological twist of it all is having a split of yourself. Yeah.
How I, Jeff Salver, am getting closer to myself. That's the second book coming out.
Well, no, I think that is this book. It's I don't want to be, but I appreciate that. But no, it's a big part of the story, and it is the whole truth that there's still a psychological component for abductees, and you get split off into two parts of yourself. So it's very important, especially when they did what they did with me. It creates very far-reaching other points that will eventually have to merge over time, and they seem to know that. That was really fascinating too, right? Yeah.
Quite the road to hoe, buddy.
Yeah, you got it, buddy. Thanks, man. Brian.
I've got the cover of the Dual Soul Connection by Susie Hansen just behind me, just as reference. But a couple of questions. You said that the Greys told you that the future is tenable. I think this is one of the most profound statements, most profound things, because in your previous talks, you describe how they would show you your life on the computer, like different sections on the computer. This is kind of your future, you know, and it's not certain, but this is kind of, they obviously know more about the future than we do. And I know in the history of European philosophical thought, last 500 years, you know, half the philosophers say, you know, predetermination, everything's predetermined. I talked with Rolf about this. And the Buddha left it as a paradox. Like he deliberately, like he kind of denied predetermination, yet he leaves it as a paradox. So this is one of the most profound questions about what is the nature of the future? How much do they know about the future, the mantids, and how high up do people higher up, beings higher up, know the future? Or is it actually flexible?
Yeah.
You want to comment on that?
Yeah, you got it. And I'll do a full presentation exploring this, because it's I do have an idea of a whole presentation I plan on doing about kind of the powers of the gray aliens and how it translates to humans. And one of them is this about time, because they know something, and the way my story is written, where contact events are happening at certain. So, okay, this is how I understand it all. You come in, you have a preset plan to some degree. But there is this quantum probability going on. I'm so fully convinced of it, of alternate realities. And how I understand this is, and I know some of this from intuition, from what I've experienced with the beings, that so what I'm convinced creates the alternate reality. So there's the theory about alternate probabilities, is that for every choice you make, there's an alternate choice, and that choice happens. And so there's two realities that get created. And I don't believe that. I don't believe, did you go to the shopping mart today or did you not, is not something that creates an alternate reality. Did you go for a coffee or not, does that create an alternate reality? No, I don't believe that. What I believe creates your alternate reality is your being state. So when you are, because that's, remember I talked about what consciousness actually is the being, is the core heart, energy, your being consciousness. That's your consciousness. And you have being states, and you're kind of in this flow about life. You have a being state that kind of is the governor, or this kind of core idea. When you change that, you change reality. You change alternate realities. You create strings. And I'm convinced of this because of the way the beings interacted with me. So if you notice at this, all of the changes that were about to happen, they gave me a contact event right before it saying it's going to happen, right? So they gave the 7th contact event right before the rising. It was about a month. And look at all the things that had to happen. This is so screwed up, right? I had to find a book. I had to find the book about the HG people. I had to buy it. I didn't want to buy it, right? Someone, like, there was all this stuff around it all. It's so weird. And then the parents had to, they must have known the parents were going to leave my house. They must have known my emotional state. There's all this stuff that goes, that peripheral, that just doesn't make sense how the beings know, unless there is this kind of predetermination, yet you're creating alternate realities with your being state. Now, at the point of the 7th contact event, it was set in stone. And the beings seem to, the blue of that cuboid, I'm convinced, is them saying, you're going to be in this being state. You're going to feel this certain way. So we pretty much know how it's going to go. And we're here to make sure it's going to stay in line. Then we're going to do this rising with you. And there's going to be a certain point we can say, guarantee it's going to happen. So in the 7th contact event, she says, it's going to happen because it's written in stone, or written in record, or no, that's the 4th contact event. She said that's written in record, right? So I'm basically guaranteed to act and behave a certain way up to the rising. That's a guarantee. And it's because I'm in a being state. I don't change my core consciousness at all. I am a certain type of person. I'm a certain type of being. And I go to the rising, and I have this crazy event. The rising creates a conflict that maybe they didn't perceive would happen. I don't know, where I get traumatized off of it. I can't tell if they knew that would happen or not. Then the rising occurs, and then all the whole contact events happen, and it all happens the way it happens. It does seem a little bit like they got thrown off. I don't quite understand it. And I also say the reason they didn't take my genetics for these kids in the 23rd contact event, because I did become traumatized by the end of 1998 when they needed the semen for it, where I had the sex with the robots things. So there was these, so I was a darker person already by that point. It feels like they kind of like, we're trying to rush to get things done, right? There's this whole perspective where they kind of got, oh, look what happened. We didn't expect that. Then the last year, the year 2000, before I meet my wife, and it seems to be the end of the red zone, I'm traumatized, and I'm thinking about ending traveling, and I'm having thoughts about it, and I want to quit. I want this to stop. And so she, the 20, I have to think of these, the 19th contact events, 20th. When I go up to 100 Mile House, I think it's the 18th contact event, is again something they don't expect. I'm just willy-nilly trying to travel. They have to turn me around, so they didn't expect that. They also, when I meet the ancient alien one, she goes into my head and she's confirming I'm going to meet my wife, because she says you will connect, as if, did they know or not know? They were kind of like not knowing if I would connect. Why? Because I have a being state that's going to resist, right? I'm potentially thinking about creating a new alternate reality. And their job, because we did this as an exchange with my higher self, was to get me back, was to make sure that happened. So there was their job to do that. And then in the 22nd contact event, it's known, it's going to happen. He's set, the being state is rear, and we know it's going to go this way. And so they say it's done, it's done, and we'll see you later, whatever, my friend. And I drive the craft. And then all the stuff that happened, all the synchronicities with my wife, like all this stuff that had to happen, that was magic and was all those, would seem random to any observer, but was planned out by, right? It's so crazy. That's what it is. And so when you look at that timeline and she's seeing my timelines, because at that point there's no exchange with them anymore and they're not governing anything, and I can do anything. I could go in any direction in my life. I could go into politics, or I could do whatever I was feeling, and they have general outlines again, but they're not really clear where I would go, because the brain is making the ultimate choice in space and time, and they're looking at consciousness and looking at where the probabilities of consciousness go, determined on being states. So yeah, I have a whole presentation for that, because as I've thought through this hard, and I think the beings are giving some answers about how they experience time in my contact events, just the way they handle things, right? Yeah. So that was my answer. How do you think about that? I hope that wasn't too much.
Very good. That's like your presentation there. Can I just ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
In your previous video, asked, if I could like read sections of your book, with my preparing for alien contact meetup. You said fine. I was thinking of particularly your mystic book. So since 1996, I've been a lay Theravada Buddhist teacher, really into meditation. I actually feel the future of Buddhism should incorporate gray alien spirituality, like within the Buddhist community. I feel that. So I feel maybe the mystic book is contributing to that. Like, would it be okay if I read sections of your mystic book and did like meditations as a guided meditation for the meetup group, with my meetup group?
It's not mine, man. Yeah, it was meant for humans. So you can do whatever you want.
Oh, thank you. Because I think of it, it's yours, like, it's your teaching, but like you say, it was implanted in your consciousness about 20 years ago. And it's because I've done them. I've done like visualizing objects like pyramids in different shapes, and it has a kind of a power to it.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, no, I don't think of it as mine. I think of it as theirs. And so yeah, it's not meant, they wanted to give it out for free. And I was like, I don't think people will believe this unless I tell them the story. And then it was like, hey, write a book. But there's images of me like giving it out to homeless people. I'm like, I don't know that they would understand what this is. Like, so they wanted, that's their whole thing is give it away. Yeah, that's their whole thing.
I guess in terms of getting the word out, we're a tiny little niche in the world, so we got to get it out. Like Susie Hansen says that, within the UFO community, we have ideas, but the rest of the world doesn't really know much about it. One other thing I want to follow up, you said there could be a change on the planet, people with a proper stock of genes, like who have particular talents. That reminds me of something important that Susie Hansen said in this book. She said, in the future, people will know how to get sustenance from plants. I don't know how, but this indicates like you and other contactees have indicated maybe there's going to be a cataclysm, maybe some culling of the population. And Susie Hansen gives the impression of people living out in the forest, starving. They'll find a way to get sustenance from plants. So this is kind of like what you're describing, having a proper stock of genes to be able to deal with the planet after the great change. And you've been told about a great change. Many contactees have been told there's going to be a great change. Do you want to comment on that?
I don't know what to think about that, except that I do make the point. I try to make the connections about the rising, the state that I was in at the time in 1998, how I couldn't not be in nature. I always had to be in nature. I got exhausted if I was put into a city, and I could feel that I would be drained. And I've never had that since. And I only reflecting and realizing it was all around alien contact and alien genetics. And there is something about nature. I do agree that there is something deeper. How many contactees become animal activists, right? This idea that we start caring for nature and caring for the planet. You almost see the planet and nature and our interaction with nature a little bit differently. So I do know that there is, and I actually think the gray alien genetics in me is the one that loves the nature. That is, so that all that is connecting, and it makes sense. I don't know any more than that, but I can definitely agree and think that something with that rising in 1998, that I couldn't not be in nature. I would get drained. This strange experience of getting drained if I went to, even in 1997, before the rising was activated, just some of the extra detail. I was going to school, music school, but I couldn't go to music school without going to the forest afterwards and replenishing my energy. I was getting drained being in society. I was getting drained being in buildings, and that all now makes sense, because it's something to do, I thought it's something to do with the alien genetics or the rising or the connection that was happening at the time. So there's something. I don't know if the connection is fully, I don't know all the details, but something like that could happen, I guess. Yeah, maybe it's fascinating.
Could I ask you one quick question?
Yeah, of course, man.
So I wrote it down. does it give you some comfort to know that these highly intelligent beings are at our mercy somewhat when it comes to determining ours and their future? You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
they are such control and everything. And yet, remember how you just mentioned in your talk,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
they come back and they tell you, it's not just us, it's what happens to you as well.
Yeah.
I take great comfort in that, to know that I'm included in the future.
Yeah.
If it's not my decision,
Yeah.
somebody like me will be part of that. I don't want to be swept up in somebody else's world and their intelligence and their instructions and their determination.
Yeah.
I'd rather have some part in it. So
Yeah.
I would get comfort from that myself.
Yeah. Yeah. You got it. Yeah, totally. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Very cool, man. Very cool.
Anyone else? I could ask more questions.
I
you
got to ask,
mentioned-
you, how do you put my hand up?
Oh, Ken, it's reactions on the bottom right. There's reactions, and you click on that, and it says raise hand.
Oh,
You should lower your camera so we can see your face, Ken.
I'm hiding.
Can you lower your camera a bit?
Forehead of security.
There I am. Hi. Good afternoon. Yes, afternoon.
Ken.
Why did the aliens abduct us if they're so farther advanced than us? They have our sperm and our eggs and all our genetics. Why don't they just make their own? Why do they need us?
Because so there is at least all I can talk about is my personal experience and what I have from my writings and from what happened. And they do plan to put themselves on planet Earth. Yeah.
Well, why don't they just put themselves on planet Earth? And why do they need to do our abduct us and do these tests? They've been doing that for hundreds of years. I haven't been abducted, but I've seen spaceships and stuff. So
yeah. Well,
other things, but not exactly. I've never seen the Greys.
I mean, that's a good point. It was never explained to me. I can only assume what I've heard other researchers say, which is that their bodies can't be here on Earth, or something about their bodies, or the dimensional state, or whatever it might be. It might be a mixture of that, their bodies plus the state. So
they land on Earth. I mean, they got space.
Yeah, they've been here. People have seen them physically out of their crafts as well too. But I think in long term, I think like staying and living and being and existing and eating and everything else that goes along with all that.
What is their criteria for why they want certain individuals then?
Yeah, well, that would be genetic lines. That's as far as I can understand it.
But they've already got them. There's only so many. You make your own once you grow some humans.
Well, I think that consciousness is a part of that. So it's not just biological tubes, right? It's not. So, for example, if a person may gain a certain type of experiences. So my contact event shows this, that they were very interested in not just the biology, but the
experiences are 1 to 1,000,000 or something. There's only so many of them, and then that's it.
Pardon?
Your experiences are countable. What do you think?
Yeah,
Human experience is countable. We can put them all on a list. So what could they learn by that? I'm sure they have this list.
Well, if you look at my book, it's going to be beyond human experiences that probably not too many people have had.
Why are they on Earth? They should be somewhere else. No, I want to know what. I don't understand why they want us. After they've had us so many times, what else can they learn from us?
Because they're coming. Because they're coming. Because
they're already here.
Yeah, but they're not here yet.
So why don't they just take over then?
Because they're not like that. This is all from what I understand. They're not like that. This is not.
Your ideas on it. I just don't see why they haven't done it yet.
Because it's not like that. It's not like that. And they're.
I don't mean invasion. I'm not thinking invasion.
Yeah.
Like they want us as our slaves. I don't.
Yeah. That's right. But it's the reality of who and what they are, just like that Lou Elizondo thing said in the beginning. This is too much. It's too much for everybody. I know everybody in my sphere who are not into aliens hate it. They hate the answer. They don't want it. They don't like it, and they don't want anything to do with it. And so they want to pretend like it doesn't exist. And that's that's what I think people in the government are doing. I think the people are like, no.
Yeah, I just want to know what the aliens want us. They've already got everything they can get from us. I don't see what else they can possibly need from us that they don't already have.
Right, but if they're not just not taking, but they're also creating to put back.
They want to make us advance. I've always thought most aliens cultures want us to progress at our own speed. Otherwise, we'll get us too far advanced. We'll blow ourselves up.
Unless that is what's going on. Unless we are going to blow up. Right?
Like next week.
Well, yeah. But I think this is what they seem to be saying to everybody. And now there seems to be, it just seems to be that this is what the direction that they think things are going, that there will be, and that we're putting the planets, which is not maybe our planet. There might be some other twist to this, that it might not be a human planet. And it might have been kind of given to us for a period of time. There's just something else larger about.
Have you ever been on the George Norrie show?
No, I've never been on George Norrie's. I like George Norrie. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean, man, you give him a call one night.
Oh, you mean on the talk show in
Coast to Coast?
Coast to Coast, yeah. I like to keep to myself. At least someone reaches out to me, I'm happy to do that. But
Okay.
Otherwise, I keep to myself. Yeah.
That's worldwide stuff. Okay, that's all I got to say.
Thanks.
I have
Ken.
lots of other little questions, but probably rookie to you, so I'll just keep loud.
Everything's on equal level here, man. I'm all good. It's all good, man.
Alrighty.
Appreciate it, Ken. Thank you. Hey, Angela.
Hi, I just wanted to comment on that with one of my most recent interactions with beings I had not seen before. They're kind of, they've been introduced to me over the last year or so, but it was the reptilian human shifters and the extremely tall white grays with the really big heads, like the 8-foot tall ones, were working together. And the whole purpose of the interaction was because they wanted to be accepted in all of their forms. And they wanted to see how I would react to experiencing a shift. And the only thing I can think is the reason for this happening now is because they anticipate being seen in all of their forms in our lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
They want us to see their forms, so he said. I didn't quite get
They
that.
don't want humanity to be shocked when they experience higher dimensions merging with the one we're leaving.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen.
Yeah. There's more. It's not just as black and white as it would be for us now presently trying to understand it, because it's something that the human race hasn't experienced. So it's confusing to us, and they are clearly aware of it all. Yeah. So they're going about it the way that they're going about it. Hey, Jackie. You're muted, Jackie.
I'm just trying to get used to this.
Awesome.
Talking about aliens, it was over 40 years ago that I was had my experiences with aliens, and I was maybe 12 or something at the time. Anyway, from then I've had so many spiritual experiences / metaphysical experiences that I really truly believe that each one of us on Earth has a very unique and very different purpose for being here, and that not one of us is above or below anyone else. And we're all unique. We all have different experiences to add to the collective of all. And I've done some channeling in the past. My girlfriend many years ago did a lot of channeling. She's also what you would call maybe an ET or whatever. She goes there very quickly, and she knows all the different species. She interacts with them, she talks with them, and all of that. And whether we channel, whether we go out of our body, we are observing ourselves. At times we're not, I don't know if we're dual souls. I haven't heard that one before, but I know we can observe ourselves when we spontaneously go into an experience, and I've had many of them. So, and even talking to the guides that come through, they say that if we saw them from other species and other galaxies and other universes, whatever, we would be afraid of them. So they come looking as more human, in different ways, that so we can accept them. And I understand that very near in the future, we will be interrelating with so many different species, and especially the tall grades are the ones that I had interactions with. And anyway, yeah, this is going to happen in the future, and our consciousness isn't quite there yet. We have to raise our consciousness more before we can interact with these species, because a lot of people, the military would probably get involved as they have before in different ways, and end up creating havoc, you know. So we have to raise our consciousness, and that's what we're doing now to prepare ourselves for this collective ability to be able to work with the different species. That's what I got anyway. That was only part of it, but
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
So they're preparing us to be in their control.
There's no
No,
control.
no,
There's-
there is no control.
There's
Okay,
no
not,
control.
not control,
No
wrong
control.
word. So to,
Yeah.
when they're preparing us for their arrival. For
For
us.
our change. That's the best
For our,
word.
exactly.
Our change,
exactly,
our
yeah.
change, all of us.
Yes,
Yeah, all of
yes.
us.
Raising of consciousness.
Raising our
We are
consciousness.
becoming much more than what we are.
Yeah,
We're
we-
only,
yeah,
we're only
Oh,
this
I
tiny,
agree with
tiny
that.
speck.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like
That's it. That's it.
they're way beyond us. So they can grow us. So why do they need us? So they're preparing us to meet them and get us our consciousness higher so we can understand them. Agreed?
Yes, yes.
In my opinion, there's no them and us. We're all interconnected, and we're all one being having a different experience.
Between the
So
galaxies.
yeah, so them, there's no them and us. We're all the same. They're just at a different stage, having a different experience, and we're having a different experience.
How can we be the same as them if they're on a higher consciousness? We're on a
But
lower
that's what-
consciousness.
That's what I'm saying. We all come from the same consciousness. We're just having
Exactly.
limited ability to recognize the whole and we're expanding to get back to that. It's like putting a little filter on a hose, and that's the amount of water that comes out. And the more you expand, the more you get to, you know, see and feel and become one with the whole, like one with everything. So they're
Exactly.
basically our brothers
Yeah.
and sisters, and we're the same. So there's no them being more than us and we being more than them. We're all the same. We're just having different experience.
We're
So
all,
that
we're all remembering who we really are,
Yep.
the higher consciousness of all. We are all.
So you're sounding like the aliens on a higher realm. Maybe
Some of them have raised their consciousness. Yes, they're higher in vibration than us, physically, but emotionally, spiritually, we're all the same. We're all the same. We've just been on this planet in order to learn what we've chosen to learn, in order to raise the vibrations of the planet and raise the consciousness of all. We're all going to the same place,
where's that?
to a higher consciousness. We don't need the physical bodies. We will eventually not need our physical bodies, but we may want to go into another physicality of maybe a two-dimensional or another three-dimensional universe to help raise that consciousness. We've all been in and out all the time. We already are.
Would you
all of
call
it.
that Nirvana?
Nirvana? You
Yes.
can call it Nirvana if you want. You can call it heaven. You can call it the all. You can call it anything. We're part of all of it.
I agree.
We are all of it. Yeah. We're just remembering. We're starting to remember. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's great. I love this.
Brian, sorry, this is Trina here. You were shaking your head there. What were you shaking your head about?
Well, okay, I'll answer, but this is called crosstalk. It's up to the chairman, Jeff, whether he'll allow crosstalk. Well, I'm a
I'm
Theravada
shaking my
Buddhist.
head.
Okay, I'm an Orthodox Theravada Buddhist lay minister since 1996. I just have a Buddhist worldview. I'm just shaking my head because we're not all going to the higher realms. The Buddha said, without X, there is no Y. If you don't apply effort, you don't grow spiritually. We're not all destined for nirvana. There's all these beings in the universe. I mean, some people are psychopathic, sociopathic politicians, which harm thousands of people. Some people are serial killers, which are going down. We're not all equal from a Buddhist view.
Brian, I'll tell you my story one day about some sociopath that I know of, a real big one, and how he's on this wonderful journey with us. I'll let you know about that.
Okay,
But
let's talk about it.
it's just too much to explain right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. But he's part of the all as well.
But it's good how, ufology alien subject leads into spiritual conversations, like our meetup last Saturday was like that. Yeah. But Jeff, I did have a question now. Since Ian has a sinus trouble now, I want to quote Linda Moulton Howe, like you talked about the genetic lines within the population. Some might have mantis line or gray or reptilian or whatever. What Linda Moulton Howe has often said is that she's been told from her sources within, I guess, whistleblowers, that for 270 million years, there's been 3 species of alien vying over planet Earth. And I'm not quoting her which ones. I guess, grays, reptilians, maybe Pleiadians. So those genetic lines, I would assume, have been around for 270 million years. And also, to quote the work of Michael Cremo, who got his book Forbidden Archaeology, they found anatomically modern human skeletons in coal deposits in Illinois and Colorado, which are 300 million years old. You want to comment on those genetic lines?
Wow. Where did you find that that human deposits?
I can get the book for you right now and show you. Michael Cremo, Forbidden Archaeology, huge text with hundreds and hundreds of cases, quite a respected source.
Right. Very fascinating. So in a telepathic communication, the leader did say that one's right, about the 250 million years thing, that they've known about the planet since the dinosaur era. So now I don't believe beings fight or vie, or it doesn't make sense but I don't doubt that they create arrangements, that they create agreements, and then they work with, and that they adjust and they change things. I think that they do that, but because and you start dealing with 0-point energy, like you can't fight. When you deal with beings who can telepathically show up anywhere, you can't make battle plans, right? There's all these inability you have when you start operating on those levels. So I don't understand that kind of language. And I don't know that that's not military reorganization of what they're being told, which I sometimes think Linda Moulton Howe does come out with, that she's being told something from these guys who themselves are interpreting it this way, and it's not quite exactly that. I don't really know though, but I just don't understand how some of the kind of more, it's always kind of talked in that way, like there's jockeying and positioning and fighting and pushing and I think that they could do work together. But I know for the leader did say this to me, that is accurate, that they know about the place, and it's the leader who said this, not my elder, the leader, that as their species has been aware of the planet for 250 million years, and it's a garden, it's something that they've been putting species on, reusing, taking off, doing things with. But the other twist is that cities can be here and not touch the land, right? Cities can exist, right? Cities can be just phased one up in another space, and then they can operate and have full societies here. So I think that the planet has been used in many different multiple ways for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. And so this is just end of an era that we're at, is just another switch up, end of an era, switching things up. And I do think that the species humans were created. I think that they were kind of thinking like they're naturalists. That's what it is, right? They're naturalists. They love nature. They use their quantum God AIs to help them kind of with this process. So then they treat everything very gently, very naturally, with very close nature hands. And so then they aren't forcing genetics. And so when us as a species start looking for the evidence of it, we almost can't find it because everything's been natural and easy and relaxed and not forced, right? So you don't see genetic markers that all of a sudden change in human history. Everything just kind of seems natural, and we can't figure out exactly where they put themselves, right? So I do lean towards that. Yeah.
What's your view on aliens and humankind's start?
Yeah, you mean like the idea that they created
I don't want to
humans?
say creation. I don't want to say the Big Bang. I don't want to say we walked out of the seed. You believe it's like the aliens had a. Oh, what is your view on the start of mankind and aliens?
Talking about God? You're talking about God?
Who's God?
You're talking about Big Bang when you said Big Bang? I don't know what you're talking about.
How did man start? Mankind, humankind.
You mean
is that an alien connected?
So they do say to me in 2 contact events that they are the ones who involved themselves in human genetic engineering.
Does that mean start of man?
Yeah, I don't know. And she basically frames it, we created man. So now what does she mean? Yeah, the elder, the main being I talk to. Now, I don't know what she means. And so she doesn't provide any more information. And
it is one of the big questions, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you know, there are some questionable things in human history. So where where intersects, where it looks like actually that you know, that interview that I pulled out from Lou Elizondo of when he was quoting the quote I drew from Lou Elizondo there, in that very interview, just the next paragraph or just the next seconds, he says he's talking to someone and they're very aware that in the 70,000 year mark, humans were down to like basic extinction. And we went from, whatever happened in the earth in the 70,000 year mark, we went from being the victims to the animals on the planet, so not being the atop predator, to becoming the atop predator. And he points 70,000.
That's not very far long ago for 70,000 years.
It's not yet. Yeah.
Where did these guys come from then?
So then he's a guy in the know, right? So you have to wonder why he drew upon that 70,000. And I never heard 70,000. I heard 50,000 from other speculators. So him to draw on that is very fascinating.
Hey guys, I wonder if you'd let Catherine speak. And Ken, could you play by the rules more and turn your mic off, and when you're ready to speak, put up your hand. I hate to be a school marm, but we're all doing that, and I'd appreciate it if you could do the same thing.
Yeah, and actually upon that, I'm also sorry because I'm not moderating. Because it was my presentation, I'm all a bit more loosey-goosey.
I think it should be fair for everybody. And Catherine's had her hand up for some time.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Ken.
Oh, he didn't like the answer to that. Who was that guy? That was the first time I ever interacted with him. Who was he? Was he?
This is Ken Anderson. He's one of my Buddhist students since the year 2000. We've known each other over 20 years.
Well, hopefully you still get to know him.
Yeah.
Okay, that was good call, Barry. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I apologize for not doing it because I myself am, you know, I ran the presentation, so I'm trying to make sure I talk to everybody too. So Catherine, please, I would like you to, you did have your hand up, so I'm wondering to know what your question was. Oh, Catherine, are you there? Oh, maybe it was for Ken. Maybe the question was for Ken and sorry. No problem. This is easy going. Everything's easy peasy. We don't need a.
Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to disturb. I think Ken's left us now.
Yeah, Ken took off. Yeah.
But we just play by the rules. So I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and I apologize too. It's partially my fault because I'm definitely not. Oh, okay, no problem. Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I'm partially okay. So I'll follow the rules. I was being a bad moderator because I did the presentation, and usually, right when I do the presentations, someone else moderates and controls it all. So I apologize. So thank you. Thanks, Barry. Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah. So, like the leader, meaning the mantis, said that you have some of his mantis genes personally, and you have some of your elder's gray mantis genes. So the very definition of a hybrid is you're a hybrid by definition. Then.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, so nice to clarify that on video. Also, you mentioned the Irish Celtic connection, like everyone you met have this Irish, and it seems to be and the Palladian on the ship told you from your book that there's an ancient area of humanity where they involved themselves.
Yes.
So, okay, they're white Nordics, or I think actually there's two different type ones, there's tall ones and short ones. But anyways, these Palladians,
Right.
maybe they came to Ireland. So that seems to be a genetic connection. Also, I'm just looking, historically, like the Irish have been a persecuted people. So maybe there's jealousy amongst aliens, like Linda Moulton Howe has said that, they fight each other on the earthly plane. So like the British picked on the Irish a lot since the early 1800s.
British
You know
aliens.
that.
British
Like,
aliens back to the Irish aliens or whatever.
Yeah, the 1847 so-called blight, England, about something like 6 million Irish died and came to America. You wonder if this is like reptilians working through the British globalists who are jealous of the Irish higher Palladian bloodline, and they're fighting it out on Earth historically in our politics. What do you think about that?
I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to the aliens that I interacted with do not care about our human politics. They do not think these ways. They do not think these ways. This is not the way they think. I just repeat it because it's not. Remember I recommended to read Conversations with God book 2, and in there he has
I got the book.
He has a really good description about high level beings don't even need governments. So like when you're on this level, you don't have taxes and all this stuff. Like you as a society, you understand how to operate together. And that's what I think they do. I do not think they look down and go, oh my God, let's play with, oh, those people are ours, or that I don't even think they're spirits. So for them, they're not, their bodies are just, the next body, choose the next body then. These levels do not exist in the brains of the beings I interacted with. So I don't believe at all that there's meddling. I don't believe there's fighting. That fighting doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't make sense that there would be fighting. I don't believe that they fight. I don't believe that they argue. I don't believe that they do these things. I just don't believe that those things happen. I've never seen them, and the beings I work with do seem to operate on this other type of level. So I don't, that's my whole shtick to that. I don't think that they're thinking about human politics the way that we humans do. I think they're outsiders looking in. And I do think that they're trying to make change happen, and then they're talking to people, but I don't think they're saying like, oh, your senator, that law that you passed, I think the law would be best chosen. I don't think they're thinking this way. I think that they're thinking as us as a species on the planet, and that they're looking, when they're talking with politicians, or if they are, they're talking about humanity as a planet. I think they're addressing the leaders because it's the only leaders the planet has. And so they're talking to these leaders, hoping that that person's going to make planetary type change. So that's my shtick about what I think is going on when it comes to that kind of stuff. Yeah, Ian, you got your hand up.
Yeah, Jeff, I've been on the side. I had to just get in the car and drive over. We've got a bit of a fuel crisis going on here. You have as well over there. I'm just topping up with my fuel for the equivalent of $10 US a gallon here anyway. But I wanted to just check in with you and say I'm going to have to disconnect now. And but it's been a great presentation, and we've had some great contributions from other people bringing in their stuff. So I hope that they'll stay with us, and we'll continue to grow and learn and everything else. So thank you again, and great to see the everyone else here as well. Great to see you again, Brian, and I'll catch up with you again soon. Thank you.
Great
Take
to
care,
see
Ian.
you and stay in
Yeah,
touch.
good seeing you,
We'll be in
Ian.
touch.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I was hoping, just to cut in, I was hoping Ian would comment on Linda Moulton Howe,
I thought so
because
too. I thought he would do
for
too.
instance, you're familiar with David Icke. He didn't invent the idea, but around 20 years ago in his book, he talked about well, these reptilians with the globalists, and the dark side. And even Richard Owen's book I have here, Alien Agendas, he states in 1964, a group of Marines in San Diego were brought to see some reptilians. There was a craft there, and their commanding officer was walking shoulder to shoulder with reptilians. And there's many cases in UFO sources of reptilians working with the governments, and kind of a dark side, a military side. And so I think there's some validity to looking back over history. Well, what about those Irish? What about 1847? They were picked on. So that's still a thesis, like it's just a working hypothesis to have. But like you and Susie Hansen have stated, you've never seen a reptilian because you're on the good side of the tracks. You're in a good neighborhood. You're associated with good aliens. But other people have had problems with reptilians.
And I want to make the case too that, like, did David Icke? He's not an experiencer, right?
Well, he's definitely experienced some spirit came to him in the early 1990s. He's talked about it and said, you've got to do this work. But no, he hasn't been on craft.
Right.
So he's also not a UFO guy. He's more of a conspiracy guy, but he definitely has a higher realm connection.
Right. So to separate, that's fine, but to separate all of those from actual real contact events. So, because then what we don't know is going on is if someone has created a dialogue, right? Like I see on Reddit, the abduction thing under Reddit, some people say, "Oh, I was abducted," but we know that they're liars. And I'm like, listen, my gray aliens never lied. Like, see, there's themes in the society, and I think people, if they actually are having experiences, then they use those themes to understand it. Because the truth is, you can't, right? You can't understand these alien experiences. So then you're drawing on what you have heard or learned. And we have to know if that's going on here at all. I don't know that. And so David Icke kind of got ahead of the gun before alien contact was okay. And he's kind of labeled these lizards as these ways. And I just don't know, man. I don't know. And it doesn't, and even though if there was an alien involved in the military, it doesn't actually speak to this other thesis that they are involved in politics, that we don't know what's going on. We still just don't know. We don't know that maybe there's a technology exchange. Maybe the lizards actually said, we're going to help. Maybe the Greys said, that's okay. Maybe they said, yeah, well, where the planet is going this way, but we do need them to evolve technologically still. So because, that we're going to bring them all up. So we just don't know, right? We don't have any of the answers. So we're just inferring behavior. And I really try to remove that unless we start understanding where exactly the information is coming from and how we're building the picture. The David Icke thing is I'm always really sketchy about. And I guess you know that I'm sketchy about like people drawing their information about the aliens from channels. Like I do support some channels. I do think some people do get the information correctly, but we have to just kind of be cautious, I guess, when that information comes out.
I remember that you've said before that if there's ever a UFO, they're probably all part of the Federation, and the aliens are generally all part of the Federation. I believe that's true. So even the reptilians, they're all part of the Federation. And I look at the big picture law of karma. I'm Buddhist, and you're Vedic, so you probably have the idea of law of karma. I think the law of karma allows, well, there's good and bad in humanity. Obviously, there's good and bad.
Right.
So that would allow. I think look at, say, Americans fighting wars in the Middle East and Iraq and stuff. If there's reptilian energy behind it? I think in the big picture law of karma, that's understandable, even with the Federation, because we get the karma we deserve. We live on the planet that we deserve because of our karma. That's kind of a big picture of looking at it, in my view.
And maybe why you kind of nail on that, and I don't, is because I actually fundamentally don't believe in bad people, right? Of course, some people can do bad things, but even for all those bad people who do bad things, they're a crying baby on the inside, right? They didn't get loved as a kid, or you know what I mean? Like there's pain, and that creates their actions. And at the core of them, so there's no demons, there's no dark, even if there is a dark type paranormal entity, the thing actually doesn't sometimes exude paranormal darkness. It exudes a cranky entity, kind of cranky actually, or something. Like I just don't believe in just this kind of darkness that just exists and we can't fight it. And so even when it comes to reptilians, I just don't know if there is such a thing as these transforming reptilians. We are unclear what's going on, and that's it. We don't know, and we're inferring behavior otherwise, and we don't know exactly.
I accept what you're saying. Like maybe they're absorbing energy. Remember once you used a really good analogy. If we're mining a mountain, the animals on the mountain might think we're evil, but we're just mining for minerals. There's nothing
Right.
emotional about it.
Right.
Yeah, so I can see that.
Yeah.
Like I can say with the reptilians, like David Icke, I've done videos with Bruce McDonald, and he's saying that the kind of lower fourth dimension, they want to feed off the energy of fear, emotion, and that's what they feed on. But yeah, there could be a crying baby on the inside. I'm not trying to label them necessarily as bad or evil, but that's what they do. And then maybe they're all part of the Federation. Again, in the big picture, I think the law of karma throughout the entire universe just allows for that. There's other planets who are more, like the Palladians said, their planets are more harmonious, lower population harmonious, longer lifespans. That makes sense. We're just on this planet. This is what the situation we're in. This is just my hypothesis.
Right, right. Yeah.
Like to bounce ideas off. You're like, I don't know either. And you've been there, you've been on the craft, and you have a psychic connection with the elder. That's why I've got so many questions all the time.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and I struggle with an idea that any alien race who's traveled the light years, has the technology to do it, has this desire to do this. I don't even quite get it. I don't even think I understand the mentality of what's being said. And I just see human thinking behind it all, right? I just see our desire to say good being, bad being, or good this or bad that. And you know, humans, we're so two-dimensional, right? When we can't see why a corporation's doing what they're doing or a government's doing what they're doing, then we just infer all the behavior. We just make it all up, right? We say, oh, it's that, or it's this, it's because of this, it's because of that. And so that's what I see here. I don't know yet. I'm not seeing alien actions, and I don't until I see that I can actually properly comment on it. But yeah. So Bear, you're fuzzy, Bear? Did you have your hand up? Because Katrina has her hand up. And now you muted yourself, Bear. So we can't hear you, man.
Sorry.
It's all right.
It was just about Brian's question about Ireland. And I have Irish background as well, my grandmother. He suggested, and you guys sort of went back and forth on this, that it was the politics of the day, and somebody supporting that. But I wonder if it's like today, the Irish had a fair amount of experiences, because if you go back in history and look it over, not that I have that much, they are notorious for their history with strange phenomena, UFOs, we'll take it now. And I wonder if it was just the powers that be, whether it's Irish government, English government, they, like today, didn't want that information coming out because it wouldn't go along the lines of what politics are all about, and that is people control. As soon as you have any kind of dissension and other knowledge, then you're not going to believe so much in the crap that's being shoved down your throats. You're going to investigate things for yourself. So in most cases, as time has gone on, I think it's been in the most best interest of those in power to negate anybody knowing much at all about something as mysterious and sort of, I would think, positive self-education of UFOs. Anybody's who is in power is not going to want other people to know about it. And I'm just thinking maybe that happened back in the 16th, 17th century when all that happened. But it was I should know. I put my hand down. I wasn't going to say anything. Anyway.
So there was no question, right? You're just kind of making a comment.
I don't know. You probably can't answer that. It's just, I was sort of backing them up, or my idea of what you guys are talking about.
Gotcha. You're adding depth to Brian's point.
Yeah. Maybe it's aliens back then as well, or contactees back as well. That's what rocked their boat as well. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, man? Until there's disclosure, we can't know. Yeah, totally. Awesome. Thanks, man. Katriona.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi there.
Greetings from the homeland.
Hi.
And to you, Bear, as well.
You're in Ireland.
Granny, and anyone else with Irish blood in the group. But
Ryan, hey, how are you? Sorry.
Yeah, just on the note about what you were saying there, Bear, I have a feeling you were onto something there about the Celtic roots, and how powerful those roots are. And you're probably right that when the Anglo-Saxons came, and the Romans with the Catholic Church, they crushed to the maximum that energy, because it was really powerful. You know, the druids and everything that we had here. We had magic, it was magic, you know, all around us all the time. And so they knew, well, that had to be quashed. So you're spot on there. But I had my hand up to say that, yeah, I was listening to you there with interest, obviously through the presentation, of course, but and just now when you were saying that you weren't sure that any aliens would come here with malevolent, you know, intentions and stuff. The only reason I'd have to sort of say that I find it hard to believe that there aren't malevolent entities when I, you know, learn so much about child trafficking and that type of thing. You know, the really dark side of society. It's so dark that it can't be human. It has to be something, and well, to my mind. And then as far as spirituality is concerned, surely there's going to be duality in terms of spirituality too, you know, the dark and the light. How can it all be light, you know? I even in the books you were talking about, Conversation with God, there is a lot of that explained, that, you know, to have any experience, you've got to have the contrast. It's as if the creator has created life so that we can have contrast through these kind of things, but it's gotten so bad. I'm just glad to hear that the aliens, the benevolent ones, are coming, because this can't go on the way it's going on. So awful. You know, high time they came. Sorry, that's my little twopence worth. And yeah, so I would be of the mind that there is a spiritual battle raging. Actually, myself, that's how I feel about it. That's all I have to say.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Whew. I'm getting tired out, my friends. 2:24. Yeah.
You should do this every week, Jeff, instead of every 6 weeks.
6
Come
weeks.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just even with no presentation planning, just Q&A, you just go on for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I actually have I have a new idea, a new presentation style idea. So remember how me and Ian, oh, I wish Ian was here, I could have told him about it. So we had chill with Jeff and Ian.
Yeah, the
And
UFO
I wanted,
Cafe.
Yeah, the UFO Cafe. I wanted to so I'm not done with my stuff, my own content. I actually, putting the book out, I thought, you know, I was naive that a researcher would want to come and tear it all apart and ask questions, and no one gives a shit. And it's because there's so many contactees, right? That's what it is now. And so, but I have so much more detail about everything, right? So I just, on my personal, I'm re-releasing all the old presentations on my personal channel. I'm just cutting down just the presentations. And now what I want to do is go through them and ask the whys, like why, like ask the why questions. And there's other connecting things that, and so it's kind of like the rehashing the presentation. But you know how on YouTube, like some guys will watch a video and they're all watching it together, then they stop the video, they talk about things, and I have corroborations in the videos. I want to talk about somehow the memories exactly came out the way they did. Sometimes I'm not talking about the telepathy, and I have interesting things to talk, like there's all this extra detail that's in these contact events that I want to do. And I want to have an experience or a researcher there like Ian who can say, oh, let's stop because I do know that other contactees have experienced that thing as well too, and just use it as a way to kind of explore more, and for me to kind of still talk out some of this stuff, because you know 26 contact events, man, is still just racking my brain. So yeah, anyway, what's the...
Well, I give a shit, so I'm on board with that, buddy.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Brian, you're muted. Brian, are you talking?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say about the reptilians. Angela left a very important message here. She, from her own experience, said the reptilian told me they are infiltrated everywhere. They are already in a place to fight for good against their own. When the time comes, they will be in place in it. They will be in place in it. Like humans, there are all sorts of agendas, some want out, they want to ascend. The big whites are helping them. When the ship was stuck in a canal a couple of years ago, they were on that ship, they disabled a bomb that was set to blow the whole thing.
Oh, that's crazy. That's wild. That's really trippy. Yeah, I mean, wasn't it Jim Sparks who had positive reptilians as well too? Yeah.
It's definitely good ones. I think there's good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, we just don't know. We don't. That's it, right? We don't know, and all this stuff is very controlled, right? The Greys doing what they did with me to get the story out so I can talk. Why haven't the reptilians do that? Well, I guess the idea is that they want to remain hidden, so they're not doing that. So then, yeah, I don't know. I have nothing else to say to it because it's kind of the mystery, right? So. Yeah.
Do you want to believe, I guess?
Well, if there's still hands up, Catriona, did you have a question?
Sorry, I didn't take my hand down. I don't have a question.
Oh, sorry. No problem.
No, but
Angela?
thank you. Very,
Angela,
great presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Angela.
Just real quick, I know you want to go, but as far as the information that I got about the reptilian, some of it was firsthand.
Oh, you're
All of the
quiet or
information.
something? Your mic.
What's that?
We're hard. It's hard to hear you. You're a bit quiet.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. The information that I got about the reptilians was firsthand from that event, but I have another group of people that we triangulate information. So a lot of times they'll check with me to see what I'm getting. And they got that same information independently of me about the ship and the bomb.
Oh, interesting. So it's corroborated for you.
I heard that story too.
hey Ken, good to have you back. Lower your camera. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ken just dropped from the
absolutely.
call. I
You
phoned
guys-
him up. He just pressed the wrong button.
Yeah,
Yeah, lower your camera, Ken.
I'm here.
No, can you tilt the camera down? Your head's bobbing at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, the forehead of security.
And then vote.
Yeah,
Okay, so I think I'm gonna get going, guys.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. 3.5 hours, Jeff. It's been a blessing for us. Great information.
Oh, my eyes shut this way.
Excellent.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, morning, wherever you might be. Oh, hands are going up. Starshine, do you have a? Or maybe you're just saying hi. Is that a hi? A bye?
No, she's clapping.
Sorry, it was just
Oh, it was a clap. is it?
applauding. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's
for the
applauding,
Oh,
yeah.
we should applaud. Open up the mic so we should applaud. Real
I have a
applaud.
hand. And Elena applauded too.
Open
Thank you,
your
Elena.
mics to applaud. Open your mics.
Thank
That's
you
great.
so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Bravo,
being here.
bravo.
Bye.
Yeah, awesome. Have a great day.
See you, buddy.
On. Ciao.
You too. Have a wonderful day, y'all.
Bye.
Bye all.